Can cash be an asset? Coming up on today's video, it can, and what investors can do about it. It's powerful. Check it out. Welcome back. Coming up on today's program, can cash be an asset? Well, cash can be an asset, and it's really what investors can do with it. We're talking asset allocation, rebalancing, holding and deploying cash. This is kind of a higher calling for cash, but it's really useful for great investors in a portfolio. So question for you, I'd love you to throw into the comment section, what do you do with cash when you're investing? What's your attitude toward it? How do you do it tactically or strategically? What's your experience? You're tuned to What's Next with Money, a program that holds the promise of second chances, strategies for growth, and financial empowerment. Let's get started. When is cash an asset? Well, investors hold it in CDs, money market funds, maybe kind of short-term instruments, even high-yield savings account. And those high yields really don't exist under low interest rates, but you get the point. You want liquidity in some of your other assets so you can be able to convert those to cash. And why? Cash can help you buy up investment bargains. It's a parking place for your money when you're indecisive on where to invest it. Cash is the result of when you cash out and take profits. And it's a place to keep your powder dry. And if you have cash and sort of dry investing powder, you feel better and really more empowered and immune from market volatility. You may have other positions down in a downturn, but if you've got cash, that's an uplifting notion. It gives you options to profit from a downturn, buying low, and then of course later selling high. Now, cash can be your reserves to rebuild or build an emergency fund. And generally, hopefully, the cash you have, you haven't borrowed for it. It is cash that is, there's no debt on that. So another part of cash as an asset you'd want to consider, and I do a lot, I think about it as waiting money or safety money. Waiting money or safety money. And let's go to Warren Buffett, his business model. Buffett insists on maintaining a minimum in his company, Berkshire Hathaway, of $20 billion in cash at all times. And these quotes from Buffett explain why. Berkshire will always arrange its affairs so that any requirements for cash we may conceivably have will be dwarfed by our own liquidity. So I don't have to borrow money or sell Berkshire shares. We never want to count on the kindness of strangers in order to meet tomorrow's obligations. When forced to choose, I will not trade even a night's sleep for the chance of extra profits. And cash is to a business as oxygen is to an individual. It's never thought about when it's present, but it's the only thing on your mind when it's absent. Everybody's talking about cash as being king. Cash is going to become worthless over time, but good businesses are going to become worth more over time. Thank you, Mr. Buffett. And I would add, you buy those businesses, those securities, those ETFs, those mutual funds, usually with cash. So cash also can help you in moving to a new city, certainly as a down payment for a house or some other loan, a sudden opportunity fund, and for your children, a 529 education accounts. As the child gets older and closer to needing to spend, or even for adults getting closer to that tuition payment, you want that money in cash so it has stable value. And there's a corresponding other account for disabled folks, the ABLE account. And that's really for their general well-being and spending. That needs to be often very much in cash, although some can be in stocks for long term. because you're drawing that money out for living expenses. And cash is fantastic as you walk into a bank or a credit union to show a lender your reserves. You've provided the lender a sense that you have a margin of safety, and you're probably going to do better applying for that loan. Now, how do you harvest cash flow for lean times? How do you build up those cash stockpiles for a sudden opportunity fund or an emergency fund? I'll give you a few tips ways you could be a gatherer, a gleaner of cash. You can elect to take stock and mutual fund dividends and capital gains as cash instead of reinvesting it back into the mutual fund or the stock. And this is really good for taxable accounts. If you're paying off a debt and you've just finished that, let's say under the Dave Ramsey snowball plan, you could take that debt payment for the debt that's gone and apply that and pay yourself to build up your cash savings. If you have rental income, you could dedicate rents to build up cash. You can, of course, sell assets and investments as part of rebalancing, and instead of putting that money back into the market in general or bonds, for example, you may want to take that as cash. The IRS gives us cash through tax refunds. And bonuses come in the form of cash. A gig job or second salary could be dedicated to cash opportunity fund. And of course, there's inheritance. So stay with us in just a few seconds. I'll give you something you'll definitely want to write down. And be sure to hit that subscribe button, the little reminder bell, and the like button. This helps build outreach and connections for a growing YouTube audience and others who want to learn. It's free, non-commercial, and the content is non-conflicted. So here's the key bonus I promised. And this is one of the most important parts of financial planning and investment management. It's asset classes. And folks say if you get the asset classification right, or asset allocation among stocks, bonds, cash, real estate, maybe even commodities, this can explain perhaps up to 90% of the returns you receive over time. So it's really important. This is the way you don't have all your eggs in one basket. These are the baskets that you rebalance the levels in to target ranges. Certified financial planner professionals and other investment managers can help you do this. And it's a way, in some ways, to let your winners run and cut your losses. And you do it through an interaction with stocks or equities. You're buying companies, and that includes mutual funds and ETFs. Bonds, they also come in mutual fund form. Cash, real estate, which can act like an inflation-adjusted bond. Commodities, which is like gold, agriculture, natural resources. And an emerging asset class for some advisors is cryptocurrency. I cover that in a separate video. Now, there are variations of these asset classes, often in the stock or equity part. I'll just mention them briefly, and they're up on the screen. Investment styles: growth, value, and blend. The size of the companies you're buying: small, medium, or large. The market caps. And geographic diversity: domestic, international, or global. And then there could be industry concentrations or weightings into tech, the use of index funds. And you may have special insight, as I have in several places I've lived around the country, into local companies that are publicly traded or will be publicly traded, and you know a lot about them. So they may be sort of a risky type of investment in your account, sort of risk capital, but because of your sector knowledge, your family, your work, and just geography, you think this could be good. And always think about that as adding a little spice to your portfolio. So indexes are important. That can be a core part of your account. And then you can explore into these other areas that I've mentioned. And for retirement, a beginning type asset allocation might be in a single target date fund that is tied to your age and kind of sort of is calibrated to when you think you will retire. And then there are balance funds that have a little mix of that. And other types of asset classes like private equity, and that might even include an aspect of your own small business. So, can cash be an asset? Yes. We have another companion video called Will Cash Go Extinct? So be sure to hit that subscribe and like button. Plus, don't forget to share this episode. And remember, new episodes of What's Next with Money are posted on Thursdays.